Right. So last week we start the 5th unit. It is regarding the operating system, and we talk about these different kinds of components which is handled by the operating system, as well as the firmwares and the booting process, right? As well as we talk about the categorization of the softwares, like we talk about it is being categorized into two different kinds, which is the system software and the application softwares. And later we talk about how the application software is dividing further into the operating systems, the utility softwares, and the language translators, right? Then after we talk about the application softwares and the relation in between the operating system and the other components of a computer system, right? Then after we saw some nice videos about the evolution of Windows, Macintosh, as well as the Android, right? So today we are going to talk about the types of operating systems, right? So when we are talking about the types of the operating systems, it has been divided into several different categories based on several different factors again, right? So as the very first categorization, it shows you the single user operating system. Now it is based on the number of users that operating system can be used, right? So they have taken a one category as single user operating system. So single user operating system means an operating system which can use only by one particular user at a time, right? So if you think about the operating system that we are using here, it is also a kind of single user operating system, because this operating system is just used by me, right? So no one else will be able to interact with this operating system at the same time, right? So it is a single user operating system, right? As the example here, they have told like MS-DOS operating system. Actually, we can't say MS-DOS operating system. It should be MS-DOS, Microsoft Disk Operating System. Right, so MS-DOS is kind of a single user and a single task operating system. Right now, here they haven't went up to that advanced manner in your syllabus, right? So they have they have said just the single user operating system, or they have just categorized it as a single user operating system. So which gives you the idea about a particular operating system is being used by only one person, right? So if it can be further explained as single user, single task in operating system, but not in your syllabus. I'm telling you something additional for you. So single user, single task means only one user and can do only one task at a time, right? So if you want to experience the MS-DOS, right, you can go to the start button of your Windows operating system and type CMD in the search bar. So you will be getting something called command prompt. So if you open it and if you maximize it, now this is the way the MS-DOS were, right? So remember, like there were no any taskbar at that time. It's just one big black screen and some of these words are there, right? So that was the nature of the MS-DOS back in those days, right? So MS-DOS has the capability of showing you all the details inside your operating system. Now, as an example, if I take my Windows Explorer, you can see I got two separate drives called C drive and D drive. Right now here in the command prompt, I am in the place which is called C users user. That means I'm inside the C drive. Inside the C drive, there is something called users. And inside this, there is a particular folder called user. Right? So this is the place that this particular command prompt is. So to deal with this command prompt, you need to know the particular commands that you need to use here. Right now, as an example, if I put dir, that's one particular command to have a list of directories in this particular location, and press enter. If I press enter, you will see something very similar like this list is appearing over here, right? Okay. Can you see that? You can't see this dot and double dot directories, but dot cache here you can see, and at the third line it says dot cache. Dot idlerc, so same thing is there. Thumbnails is here. 3D objects is here, right? So it's the same operating system that is presented as in the textual format when it comes to the command prompt or the MS-DOS. So early days, this was a very useful operating system because it was the only operating system on those days for the people who are using the using a computer. All right. But today we are not really into these things because we have get used to do our task with this particular graphical user interface, right? The interface which shows some graphics to us. That is why we are we are interested in this particular operating system, right? Think about a situation that your computer is having a screen or having a particular display like this. It's just the black screen and lots of text on the screen. You may have not any interest about using your computer or using your device, right? So we are attracted by the particular icons, specifically the graphics that is being used inside our operating system nowadays. But back in early days, this was a very useful place for us to do the things, right? We got a question. Yeah, what is this? Yeah, okay. Does it, I really don't have the idea about the netview command, Buddha. As according to your error message, I think it can be used to show the particular devices or the members of the server or the network in here. All right, I'll look back and see, Buddha, right? What it's all about. Okay, so then next we are going to talk about the multi-user operating system. Now, from its name, we can understand, okay, this is a particular operating system which can be used by lots of users, unlike our operating system in our computers, right? So at a given time, these particular operating systems will be accessed by many different users, right? Like it describes in the picture. If your operating system installed into this central server, right? So all these blue color computers has the capability of accessing this particular computer or the server and have the facilities of an operating system, right? So that is what we call a multi-user operating system. So only one operating system installed into this particular server, which is the centrally you can see, and all other devices will be accessing this computer through a network and having the facility of an operating system, right? So for this kind of operating system, the Linux and the Windows Server are the examples, right, that you can see. And there are many others as well when it comes to the server softwares. And it is a good thing that we can use a server operating system because we only need one particular computer, even though it needs to have like a high-end performance to cater a lot of users or the clients of that particular network. Still, we only need to configure one particular computer regarding our operating system. So all other PCs which is connected to it can have the facility of that main computer, right? So these kind of operating systems are called multi-user operating systems. So multi-user means several number of users will be using an operating system simultaneously. That means at the same time, right? So the next operating system is called the multitasking operating system. Now, if you consider about my screen, the screen that you can see here, on my taskbar, you can see several different programs are running, right? I have Windows Explorer, I have the Chrome, the web browser, and the Zoom session, and the Adobe Reader, right? Which I'm showing you this particular note, and the command prompt. So, namely, there are 5 different programs or like 5 different tasks running on the operating system simultaneously at the same time. So this kind of an operating system is called a multitasking operating system, right? So if an operating system has the capability of doing several different tasks at a single time, at any particular moment, it is called a multitask operating system, right? Lamai, excuse me for a moment. Right. So an operating system that we are using nowadays, every one of us, can be categorized as a multitasking operating system as per its qualities, right? So if you take a mobile phone, it is also a multitasking operating system, right? We can see, we can have the experience that a lot of applications has the capability of running in the background of the mobile operating system. Even it is Android or iOS, everything has that capability, right? If you take a particular computer, definitely nowadays, the operating systems that you are using can be called as a multitasking operating system. So many different tasks can be performed at a given moment, right? So that kind of an operating system is called a multitasking operating system. Right. Then the real-time operating system. Now, when it comes to the real-time operating system, from the name, you can have the idea, right? It's real-time, it's happening instantly, right? That is why we call it is a real-time operating system. So in a real-time operating system, it is going to provide you the output instantly when the particular inputs are given, right? So like, if you think about a typical computer of ours, it will take a small amount of delay when we are asking to do a particular task, right? As an example, if I ask it to start the Word program, it will take some time to open that. Maybe it is a 1 or 2 seconds, but it is a considerable amount of delay. But when it comes to the real-time operating system, it is instantly executing and instantly outputting the things according to the user requirement, right? So these are some specific operating systems. We won't be able to see these things in our day-to-day life, right? But if you go to an ATM machine, it contains a real-time operating system. If you use a calculator, it contains a real-time operating system. If you think about a GPS operating system, it is an instant or like a real-time operating system. All of these operating systems are providing us the output or like doing the execution instantly. As an example, if you familiar with an ATM system like this, right? If you transfer some funds from the ATM machine to another account, you can see your the balance of your account instantly will be reduced. If you deposit some money from a deposit machine, you will see that particular deposit or like that particular amount will be increased instantly in your account, right? So that is why we call them a real-time operating system, right? So another good example is air traffic control operating systems. Like air traffic control systems, they are also kind of a real-time operating system because they have to deal with the air freights taking off and taking down instantly and at that particular point. Neither plane එකක් take off කරනකොට එයා then departure වුණා කියලා update වෙන්න ඕන. plane එක airport එකට එනකොට that should be updated. Okay, this is arriving at this particular place කියලා, right? So those kind of things can be considered as a real-time operating system. Yeah, that's it. Mostly it is just one specific task. Yeah, right. So if you take a GPS, it's about routing. If you take air traffic controlling, it's about air traffic controlling. If you take ATM machine, it is about the banking transactions. Yeah, we can take, we can consider it like that. Yes, yes. Right. So after that, we are going to talk about the services of an operating system. Now, when it comes to the services of an operating system has many different services, right? So these services majorly divide into two parts. One part is managing its hardware of the computer, right? So there are different kinds of hardwares in the computer. If you take into consideration, there are storage devices. We can consider that as a hardware. It has memory devices, which can consider as a hardware, right? And again, when it comes to the users, the major service that they are receiving is providing user interfaces, right? So this particular thing that you can see on the screen is called an user interface, right? When you take a mobile phone onto your hand, from the place that you can see the lock screen, those are the interfaces that you can see. So we are attracted to the device, or we are tend to use a particular device basically about the user friendliness. Now think about a mobile phone that you are having a screen like this, right? We don't have any interest about working this kind of a screen or this a device which has this kind of a screen, right? We are not interested in, like, it's kind of a bunch of texts, right? Which we are very lazy to read, right? But when it is given with a lot of icons, sort of attractive things, we are automatically like tend to use that, right? So user friendliness is a major thing that an operating system should provide to its user. Depending on that, users will tend to use that operating system, or maybe reluctant to use that or reject it, right? So if you take about the Android operating systems, if you think about the iOSs, everything based on this user friendliness. It should be user friendly. Putala, just a second, I have to answer this. Right. So as we talk about the interface matters, right? Yes, Kavindu. If you can understand a particular device easily, that means it is user-friendly, right? Now, if you think about a mobile phone, it is user-friendly to understand by a very little kid, right? Like my little one has the ability of interacting with the mobile phone, like on her second birthday, right? So it was that easy. She couldn't utter a word regarding that particular device, but she know how to unlock the phone, how to open the YouTube Kids program, and choose the particular video that she likes, right? So it is the explanation of user friendliness, right? And if it is not user friendly enough to the users, they will definitely slowly reject that device, right? That was the scenario, or like that was the reason why people are rejecting the Windows phones, right? Back in 2009s and 10s and all these days, right? So Nokia, that was the main reason for Nokia brand to get down or like being destroyed, because Nokia has introduced Windows phones when all other mobile companies are introducing the Android operating system to the mobile devices, right? So later, most of the users found Windows is not a very mobile friendly and the user friendly one to the mobile devices, so they just reject it, right? Later, Nokia reinvented their brand with the Android operating system, and now they are doing fine. Still, uh, they lose their market. Like Nokia was the best mobile brand in the world for decades, right? It's mobile phone aqua, it's Nokia, right? Samsungs and these Motorola, they didn't have a market, right? Nokia was penetrating it, right? 90% of the users were using the Nokia phones. Like very few people who went to other particular devices, but nowadays it goes upside down, right? Now lots of people are like tend to these Samsung phones and Huawei's, and now there is no a big dealer on the mobile market. Everyone shares a particular thing. So nowadays we are tend to this operating system, what kind of an operating system inside this device, so we are font to have that kind of device, right? Even the same thing happens with the same thing. Even the similar case is going with the iOS, right? Even though it is a little bit expensive for us to reach, still people try to look into the things inside an iOS. It is majorly because of the user friendliness, right? Okay, so then after we are going to talk about these how the operating system is going to manage these hardwares, right? Using which kind of managements, right? Here first I'm going to talk about this process management. So before we talk about the process management, we need to understand what is a process. Now we know there are programs installed into our computer. Those programs are there in our hard disk. So when we need to work with a particular program, what we are doing is we just start the program simply, right? We just double click on it, right? So when the program is being executed, it is creating several different processes, right? So that is the place where you can find a process. When a program is not in an execution, you won't find any process inside your computer. When a program is executed, then processes will be created regarding that, right? And there are many ways that processes will be created. Execution of a program is one of the cases, right? Or else like if I close all the programs that you can see over here, still my computer may have several different processes running in the background, right? But the easiest way to understand a process is thinking about the relationship in between a program and a process. When a program is being executed, then the processors will be created. So those processors are the components which is taken into the memory and allowed to execute inside our CPU, right? So taking these processors into the memory and putting a one particular chosen program into the CPU is managed by the operating system. So operating system is look after all these processes. So he tend to see what are the programs which are being started recently, how many processes are being created, which kind of processes are to be put inside the memory, which kind of processes should be stored in the secondary storage devices, which kind of processes should be related with the input-output devices, how these things are going to be managed. That is done by the operating system, right? So it manages all the things. Even he is the one who is choosing a particular process to be run inside the CPU. Now, it is true that the processors will be created when a program is in execution, but for a process to be executed, literally, should be put inside the CPU. CPU එක ඇතුළට ගියේ නැති වුණොත් process එකක් execute වෙනවා කියලා අපිට කියන්න බෑ. So operating system is the one, when there are several programs on the RAM, operating system will choose a particular process and put it inside the CPU to get executed, right? So that is what we call a process management inside a computer system. Now, when you move to the task manager of a Windows operating system, I can take the task manager by right-clicking on my taskbar, and the task manager can be taken. Sometimes you will find your task manager as small as this, right? But if you want to have a detailed view about the task manager, you can go for more details button over here, right? So in the task manager, when you go to more details, like when you go to the fewer details, you will see these particular programs are being shown as the task inside my task manager, right? But if you go for more details, you will see a list of processors. Now it is under the process tab. A list of processors are being executed for the moment. And we can only recognize few of these things regarding our programs. So you can see the Zoom conversation as a process, it is here. And I have opened my PDF, the Adobe Acrobat Reader. It is shown over here. Adobe Acrobat Reader DC 32 bits, right? And I have opened the CMD, and CMD shows over here console window host, right? And I have opened the browser. Some browser programs are over here, right? So likewise, some startup programs are here, like my pen drive, which is my pen control, which is shown over here, right? Some of those are there. But there are many other services happening inside this computer, right? So each and everything that you can see can be considered as a process. And if I jump to this performance tab, if I click on this CPU box over here, here you can see something interesting, all right? Look at this. At the top of this screen, it shows what is the utilization of my CPU, right? So it's not been that much utilized. So it is like somewhere around 20%, right? You can see the utilization shows here as 22%, 21%, likewise, right? And speed of my process, it indicates 3.19 gigahertz, something like that. It changes. And look at the next line. It says processors. So for the moment, in my computer, there are 243 processors running, right? But as the programs, what you can see is a very few amount of programs are there, right? But there are many, like comparatively a big number of processors are inside my computer, right? So this indicates one particular program can have many different processors. That is why only when the few programs are running, there is a huge number of processors. And there are something called threads, handlers as well, right? Now threads means these processors will be divided into another small processors, then they are being called as threads, right? So these 243 processors divide into small sub-processors, which are called threads. Right? These are not in your syllabus, but it's good to know when we are using a computer, right? So now you can see there are considerable amount of processors in our computer. So that is being handled by the operating system, right? And to your right, it shows some details about the CPU, which is not really related to the process management, right? So this is the place where you have to take the idea how the process management should be happen now. This is not showing you the process management, people. This is just to show you there are 240 odd number of processors are running inside my computer for the moment, which is managed by the operating system, right? Okay, people, is that clear up to this point? Yes, everyone? Is that clear? Right, great. Okay, now we are going to move to the memory management from the process management. Now, when it comes to the memory, again, we have to talk about the processors, because processors are the component which are going to store into the memory, right? So in the memory management, operating system taking care of the memory. Like, so as an example, if we have 4 GB of RAM, so operating system will take care of how much of this memory is going to be allocated for a particular process. It can differ. Not each and every process is going to have the same portion of the memory. So operating system will decide how much it should allocate the memory for a particular process. And it differs from process to process. And again, if the RAM is going to be a busy place with the, or like it's going to be crowded with a lot of processors, to free up some memory, operating system will move those processors into a part of the hard disk. There are vacant part of the hard disk, which is considered, or like which is taken as a help for the random access memory. And for that particular place, some of the processors will be passed or swapped, right? So then it can have free space inside the RAM. So that a vacant part of the hard disk is called a virtual memory, right? So if you look into the CPU, right? No, if you look into the memory over here, you can see this particular scenario, right? Look at this. It says in use 4.7 gigabytes in my computer. It's like, as you can see, I have 8 GB as the total, right? So it says 4.7 GB is in use, 3.1 GB is available, right? And can you see this committed part over here? 9 out of 15.8 GB. So this is the one which describes the helping portion of the hard disk towards the RAM. Right? RAM එකට උදව් කරන hard disk එකෙන් වෙන් කරගෙන තියෙනවා පොඩි part එකක්. ඒකට තමයි අපි virtual memory එක කියලා කියන්නේ. So that is being expressed over here. So from the virtual memory, 9.0 GBs are used from the 15.8 GB. Right? So that is how the operating system is going to manage the memory, right? So it decides who are going to be inside the memory, who are going to be inside the virtual memory, and how much of space that is going to be given to a particular memory, and as well as when a particular process is done with its execution, the operating system will take that process away. We call it the termination process, and make that memory allocation of the terminated process as available memory for other processes to be used. Right? So this is what you call memory management of the operating system. No, Govindu, I'm not getting what you are saying. Helper is called SSD. SSD stands for solid state driver. What do you mean by the helper, Buddha? Okay, so until Govindu is given us the explanation. Yeah, it's the operating system, the OS, right? Since the operating system is managing the memory, so it will eventually help to speed up the process or the speed up the entire functioning of the operating system or your computer, right? Right. So that is what you call the memory management of an operating system, right? So next we are going to jump. One good thing, that's a reminder again. Remember, when it comes to the memory management, it is not only the random access memory, right? It's the random access memory or the primary memory, as well as the secondary memory, right? The storage, it is also maintained by the operating system. Right? Later we talk about what happened when this storage is not being stored in a proper way. We say like we are facing a problem called fragmentation. Later we are going to talk about it. But still, operating system will help the saving data to be stored inside the secondary storage. Right? In simple terms, if you are saving something into your hard disk, operating system will say to that particular file how to store inside the hard disk, right? So remember, if when it comes to the memory management, it is both primary memory as well as secondary memory that we are talking about. Right. So from that, we are going to go to the device management. Now, this device management, when it comes to the device management, there are two types of things that we are going to consider. One thing is called the device controller. It is a peripheral device or like a hardware which controls the peripheral device, right? What are the peripheral devices? Peripheral devices are the devices which are connected to the computer, right? Like mouse, keyboard, scanner, a printer, a speaker, a webcam, kind of things. Those are called the peripheral devices. So if you want to control the peripheral devices, we need two things: a hardware, which is called the device controllers, and a software, which is called the device drivers, right? So these device drivers are the component which introduce a particular device into the computer, right? So in simple terms, if you connect a particular pen drive into the PC, device driver will say to the operating system and to the computer system, okay, there is a particular pen drive with this amount of free space is being connected to this particular computer, right? So without the device drivers, operating system will not be able to identify what kind of a device that is being connected with the computer system, right? So because of this, when you are purchasing the devices like printers, they will give you a particular CD, which is called the driver CD, which we have to put into our CD-ROM and have to install that particular drivers into our computer. Otherwise, the computer system will not be able to make use of all the capabilities of that particular device. As an example, if you get a printer, you can connect the printer and have the printouts, right? It will help you to have the printouts. But if the printer is capable of printing out different sizes as its printouts, without installing the drivers, computer will not understand, or like the operating system will not understand the printer has that much of capabilities with it, right? So the drivers are the softwares which understand, or which explains what kind of capabilities that this particular peripheral device is going to have, right? So that is why when you are purchasing a particular device like a printer, they tend to give you, or they will include a particular CD, which is called the driver CD, with the packaging. And when it comes nowadays, if you think about the scenario of these days, they are now has stopped providing you the driver CDs. Instead of that, they will mention a particular website on the packaging and ask you to visit that particular website and give the particular printer model or the device model and download the device drivers regarding that particular device. All right. So this kind of scenarios are there with the devices like printers. Printers ගන්නකොට තමයි ඔය වගේ සිද්ධියකට මුහුණ පාන්න වෙන්නේ. But if you are fixing some other peripheral devices like a keyboard, like a mouse, we are not specifically installing the device drivers into our computer system. But you can remember, if you had this experience, you can remember, if you are connecting your mouse or the keyboard as the very first time to your computer, it takes some time to install its drivers, right? You can see on the taskbar, there is this box which is giving you an idea like scanning the device or something, some kind of that. Then after a little while, you will have a pop-up message called your device is ready to use, right? Now, if you are having that kind of a message, means the computer itself install the device drivers into it, right? So that means we don't need to bother about installing the drivers into the operating system. They have installed by themselves. In this scenario, sometimes the operating system contains the specific device drivers. So once a particular device is being connected, since the operating system has those drivers, those will get installed. Sometimes that particular device contains its device drivers. Like if you take a pen drive as an example, they contains their drivers with it. So once we connected it to a computer, which we haven't used it earlier, it will automatically install its drivers into the system. Then you will be able to access the pen drive, right? So that is what you call device drivers. So without that, operating system will not understand a particular device has been connected, or that particular peripheral device has been connected with the computer system to make use of it. Right. So that is what you call the device management. And remember again, that is why I have put you the picture as well. When it comes to the device management, it controls all the devices like memory devices, processing devices, output devices, input devices, and storage devices. Right. Later, we are going to talk about the file management. Now, when it comes to this file management, if we do not have an operating system, we won't be able to find a component called folder, right? Folder is something which is given by the operating system, right? So if you do not have an operating system, you won't be getting these kind of structures in your computer. Right now, if you open the D drive, you can see there are several different folders. So if the OS is absent in your device, you won't be getting that particular file management facility, right? So on the file management facility, they have given us a creating a folder, a renaming a folder, a deleting a folder, and arranging the components, that means files, into that folder, as well as they have given us the ability of creating subfolders, that means a folder inside another folder, right? So all these things are provided to manage our files, right? Now think about, if you don't have the folder structure in your computer, then you will be in a very big trouble, right? Because you have to keep all the files in a one specific place. Once you open your computer, you will see thousands of files being stored into your computer, right? So because of the file management facility, we have given this structure called folders, so we will be able to store the things into that folders, right? Okay, so that is what you have to learn regarding the file management, right? So due to this file management, even as the users, us has the facility of locating a specific file or a folder in a very clear manner. That is why we can remember where this specific file is. නේද? ඔක්කොම එකට දාලා තිබ්බනම් හරියට අර නේද පොතක පින්තූරයක් හොයනවා වගේ, we have to go one after the other, right? Okay, so the next management that operating system is done is the security management, right? So when it comes to the security management, starting from providing a password, operating system can give us the security in many different ways, right? So you can use the password simply to prevent unauthorized people to get access with your device, right? So for that case, you have to keep your password to yourself, right? If you hand it over to someone else, that person can also log into your system, right? And again, if you think about the Windows operating system, it is given the facility of creating different kinds of user accounts, right? So then it doesn't mean that you are given separate sections in your operating system or in your hard disk, but making them different users is easy for the administrator to control them, right? Later you can use the things like access privileges. Then you will be able to limit the access for a particular user to particular areas in your computer. Right now, as the teachers, as the ICT teachers, we always block the C drive from our students, right? It is because in case if you visit there, in case if you delete some particular file, the entire system can go wrong. So because of that, we majorly prevent the C drive being accessed by the students, right? So that is done by the access privileges facility, right? So if you want to set up access privileges, now this is a very careful thing to do, right? Do it very carefully, right? You can right click on a particular folder and you can go for properties. Once you go for properties, you can go for the security tab. Then here you can see this modification, read and execute, list folder content, everything is allowed, right? So there are different kinds of users over here. Okay, sorry about that, people. My little one fell down. She was screaming. That's why I have to run. Right. Okay, so we were talking about the access privileges. So you can see there are several different users over here. Right. So as you can see, the user over here has a limited authentications, read and execute, list folder contains read only. And administrator has full power, right? So likewise, you can control the security options in your computer as well as in other computers. And if you have a lot of users, which is been which is created in your system, you can give the access privileges as well, right? So then that is one kind of security management that is a operating system is done, as well as you can remember, you have experience in most of the cases they have given a particular pattern to mobile devices kind of things. And if you take Windows 10, Windows 11, even Windows 8, you have the security options like this, right? You can have a pin kind of thing, you can have passwords, you can have the passphrases as well, all right? Even for a Windows 10, now they have introduced a security code kind of thing as well, all right? So different kinds of security managing facilities can be given to you by the operating system. Even with some particular operating systems, like the Windows operating system, if you take as an example, it came up with the inbuilt antivirus software as well. Now, in the Windows operating system, we have Windows Defender, right? So when we are installing the Windows operating system into a device, the Windows Defender is installed at the same time as a feature of the Windows operating system. So we don't need a separate antivirus software to go through or to look through this particular malwares which is trying to attack to our system. Windows security will do the securing part on behalf of us, right? So likewise, we can have that, right? So those kind of things can be given as the security management by an operating system, right? Okay, people, the last one is the network management. Now, when it comes to the network management, operating system has given you a facility to see into your network, right? So if you open your Windows Explorer, if you look into the bottom part of this big list right over here, you can see this network icon over there. So once you click on that, if you are connected with a network, this will show you what are the devices which is being connected with you for the moment. But for that, you have to get connected with a network. Now, since my device is not connected with a network, it can only show myself as the a member of the network. If you go and search the things in your school computer lab, most probably, since they are networked together generally, you will see the network devices inside this. So you will see different kinds of devices which belong to the network. Now, in our schools, since we got a one printer to a one particular lab, what we are doing is we are connecting a particular device to a one particular computer, and through the network, everyone is using that particular printer. So that facility is arranged by the operating system. We can have that facility because we have an operating system. So from that, using this file explorer, we are going to access the network. Okay, so we can, we are getting some questions. Yeah, that's it. There are several ways that you can find the IP address of a particular computer. The easiest way is start the command prompt. And if you type ipconfig and press enter, it will show you the IP configurations. So from that, here as the IPv4 address, you can find what is the IP address of your device, right? Govindu, I can't understand, Puta, what is this helper that you are talking about? SSD is stand for, Puta, solid state driver, right? That is given, that is
wrong.
Wrong means like I'm not getting
No,
what.
it is a mistake from me.
Okay, right, okay. No problem. Right, so yeah. So this is where you can find the IP address easily, right? And there are many other ways that you can do. So here, like under the Ethernet adapter or like under the yes, yeah, under the Ethernet adapter or under the network configuration, you will find these things, right? And if we are going to connect a particular device into a network, now, can you remember when you visit your school laboratory, the computer laboratory, you can see a particular device is fixed into the wall, up on the wall, which has some lights are like gloom in and out in, right? Nivi pattu vena lights තියන podi box එකක් දැකලා තියෙනව නේද? So that box contain a component, a device called switch, right? So we need that switch to connect all the computers into it, right? So basically, I think you can remember the way we have talked about the network in the second lesson. Let me remind it to you again. Right? Do you remember this picture in your textbook? There is this picture of the network right over here. Yes. So this is kind of a small network that we can have. මෙතන තියෙන මේ switch and hub කියලා. So this small part is the structure of your school laboratory, right? They may not have something called server, but if you got a switch and if the switch is connected with all the devices, so you can talk from one device to another, right? So it is a switch that we are going to use. Yeah, like the device that you have at your home, if it contains more than one port at the back panel, you can use a router as a switch, right? But switch and router are two different things, right? So we have to talk about these things. This is a switch. So as you can see, it has the ports at the back side of the switch to be connected with each and every computer, right? And this is a router, right? A Wi-Fi access point or a router. And again, some of the routers has this much of ports there to do the switching function, right? So then you can have the switching facility through the router, but specifically router is there to get connect with the internet, right? So as per the network, it is a one particular device which we use to have the internet connection, right? Okay, so this kind of network management again given by the operating system. So without the operating system, we won't be able to see the members of the network and all these things in our computer, right? So now remember these facts, people, right? Now we have talked about many different management over here. So we talk about the process management, we talk about the memory management, we talk about the device management, we talk about the file management, we talk about security management, and finally we talk about the network management. So it is one of the services which is given by the operating system, managing the hardwares, right? Then the next one is called providing the user-friendly interfaces. So we have talked about this, right? So the very first interface that we had from the beginning of the operating system are called the command line interface, CLI, right? So command line interface is none other than this, right? So here we have to give a particular command to see some result, right? So one command is given, one particular result will be shown. So early days, this was your interface, command line interface, which was not a very attractive one. Later, we were introduced with GUIs, That means graphical user interfaces, right? So when it comes to the GUIs, then and there, we had this particular environment. We had the icons, we had these windows, we had a pointer to point things, kind of things. Right now, when it comes to the graphical user interface, we say a graphical user interface contains these components. We call it a Vim component, right? What do you mean by the Vim? Vim stands for Windows, icons, menus, and pointers. So if you take a look into the operating system, the Windows operating system, you can see all these things, right? So this is called a window, right? This is the window, right? And you can see the icons like this. So icons can be a shortcut icon, can be a straightforward icon, right? Can be a file icon, any kind of an icon. And you can find menus, right? So if you take a specific software, you can find a menu. And if you open the Windows Explorer, you can find the menus like this, right? And we have the pointer, right, to point things, right? So those are the 4 components which is inside a GUI. GUI stands for graphical user interface. Now, almost every device that we are using today has a GUI. You can find that is why we are attracted to the devices, because of this user-friendly GUIs, right? Okay, so after that, we have to talk about the utility programs in an operating system. So before I go to that one, do you got any questions to be asked, or is it clear for everyone? Can I have the confirmation? Okay, so I hope this is clear to everyone. So let's move to the utility programs in an operating system. All right. So I think you can remember we talk about the utility programs when we are talking about the categorization of the software, right? So it is a one category under the system software, right? So here we are going to talk some of the programs which is given by the operating system as the utility softwares. So you know that the utility softwares are used not to do the day-to-day activities of a user. For that, they have application softwares. Utility softwares are there to help the operating system as well as the user to have their work in a smooth manner, right? So here are some categories, like they have backup softwares, right, which we can take as a utility software. So having a backup is a good thing, right? If you have some important documents or import works of yours, it's better you always have a backup. So backing up can be done by the backup softwares, right? And disk scanners, right? So this disk scanner will help you to check the errors in your hard drive, right? So if you search this scanner, yeah, it is not given here as the disk scanner. Hold on. It is under the disk management, I think. Yeah, disk cleaner, right? So it will ask us to use which like they will ask what's the drive that I need to do the disk cleanup, and once I press OK, it will check for the errors and the cleanup part will take place, right? So earlier we had a program called disk scanner, but with the Windows 10 we actually not have something like that. Yeah, not here now, right? Hold on, let me have a scan program called scan disk. Yeah, scan disk is somewhere here. Yeah, I think it is been integrated into these things when it comes to the Windows 10, right? So anyway, you can use this particular utility program to check the errors in the hard drive. And disk defragmentation, that is the one I just showed you a little while ago, right? If you take disk defragmentation, this is the program, fragmentation and optimize driver, right? So from this, you can, if you run this program, you can take all the data which is stored in your hard disk into a one particular place, and the empty spaces will be gathered together, right? So it will help the hard disk to function more efficiently, right? When the things are being scattered, it will take time to access them, right? But when they gather together, it will scan and it will allow you to track a particular file or read a particular file in a quicker manner, right? And file and data compression. Now, this is given as a facility of this operating system, right? If you take like, this is the compressed one that I have done for the previous class. Now, you can compress a particular file or a folder as per your need, right? So, due to the compression, you can reduce some capacity from a particular file, right? So as an example, if I choose this G10 Practicals file over here, as you can see, it has a capacity of 12 kilobytes, right? So here I have selected this one. So in the status byte chase, one item selected, 12.0 kilobytes are there. So I can use the default program or the utility program called compressing folder by right clicking this particular file and go to the send to option and then choose the compress folder. All right, once I choose this, it will create a concept for a compressed folder. Sometimes we call this a zipped folder as well. From the same name, right? See, so it has the same name of the file, G10 Practicals. This is given the name G10 Practicals, but this has a docx extension and this has zip, the zip extension, right? So zip folder means it is a compressed folder. Now, if you take a look at the capacity of this, right? You can remember G10 Practical had 12 kilobytes, but G10 Practicals.zip folder is having only 9.58 kilobytes. So the size is reduced, right? So this will be very much helpful for you when you are emailing the things, right? So when we are emailing some items, sometimes our email account is alerting us. This is bigger than the attachment limit. You can't send these kind of big files through the email. So in that case, we can compress that particular file. Then most probably you will be having less capacity on the compressed file. All right. Yeah, Ranuja, when it comes to the audios and videos, it matters, Puta, right? What Ranuja is asking is, if we compress it, does it affect the quality? If it is a particular image or a particular audio or a video, it will affect. And again, when we are compressing, there are some third-party softwares which will allow us to compress the file without losing any qualities, right? When we are doing the multimedia lesson, we are going to learn about that. We call it lossless compression and lossy compression. So there are ways we can compress this without losing the quality of the particular file, right? So if you compress it in that manner, then you can have the same quality when you are extracting it. So once you compress this, later you can right click and extract it. So compress කියන්නේ අකුලනවා කියන එක. Extract කරනවා කියන්නේ දිගාරිනවා කියන එක. Right? So you can extract it by right clicking on the zip folder and you can go for the extract all, right? So once it is went to the extract all, it will show what is the place to be extracted, right? So then you can give any place you want. By default, it is taking the same place of the zip folder. So you can browse here and you can, as an example, I'll go to the desktop and select that particular place and I will do the extraction. So then I can see grade 10 practicals, that particular file is there on my desktop, right? So that is how you can use the compression or like the compressing utility software, right? And yeah, task manager, we talk about that neither. When you right click on the taskbar and go to the task manager, you can take it, or by using the Control-Alt-Delete keys, you can take the task manager as well. So it will display the task and the processes which is going on the computer for the moment, and some other details regarding the memory, CPU, the graphic cards, and all these things, right? And system diagnosis tools. Now, sometimes these particular tools are like, it's been a headache for the users as well, because the system diagnosis system scan they gave us the messages. Okay, you got this problem, you have to fix this, you have this and this, and in most of the cases those are not that much relevant to us. And sometimes when we are downloading some softwares, with the software, system diagnosis tool is automatically being installed into our computer without the knowledge of ours, right? And again, those kind of things are giving some disturbance when we are working with the computer. But again, there are some situations where we need this diagnosis tool as well, right? So it is better we have a one which is not disturbing us very much, right? So it will diagnose the things and give us a detailed report where are the places that we got problems in our computer system and how to fix those. Antivirus softwares, you know about it, right? It is there to protect the computer from the malwares which can attack to the computer system, right? And clipboard, we have used this clipboard for a lot of times in the computer without knowing about it, right? So if you go to this Windows Explorer, any kind of particular window, and if you go to the Home tab, you can see the clipboard, right? So see, this particular group is called clipboard. That clipboard is having copy, paste, cut, and copy path, and all these things, right? You can find find the same clipboard with the word processing softwares as well. With most of the softwares, you will find the clipboard. And again, clipboard itself is a utility software. It is not just a software specific facility. It is a general facility that we are having. Even when you come to your mobile phones, you got a clipboard, right? When you copy things, later you can paste the things that you have copied to your clipboard in other places, right? So clipboard is considered as a particular utility software which is given by the operating system. And data synchronization softwares. Now, synchronization, you have done the synchronization, neither. Like when you have in the mobile phone, you synchronize your email account and the mobile phone's email, right? So So you can see the same emails on your computer in your mobile device as well. So synchronizing is there to ensure whether all the data which is being sent from the sender's device is being received at the receiver's device, right? So it is given us the assurance all the data being traveled from sender's device to the receiver's device, right? About the disk partitioning, we are going to talk about it at the latter part of the lesson. Because of that, I'm not going to talk about disk partitioning over here. Screensavers. So earlier, like before the Windows 8, I remember, like in Windows 7 and the earlier versions, they had screensavers. So screensaver is there to have a beautiful screen in front of your on the monitor when you are not working with the computer. So it is a low quality graphics that is being used, but with some attractive patterns. So we'll see it will be activated on the computer when the user is not being interact with the computer for a period of time, right? And system profilers, it shows you what are the details about the system, as well as network utilities. They will provide the facilities to configure the network, to check the data which is being transferred through the network, and about the connectivity issues and connectivityness, all these things regarding the network is given by the network utilities, right? So that is a one big list of the utility softwares that you can find inside the operating system. So it's better you remember what are the tasks which is done by these utility softwares. So next day, we are going to talk about the disk partitioning, and as well as the disk formatting, as well as the defragmentation. Then after, we are officially done with the lesson. Right, so most probably by next week, we will be able to start the new lesson, which is the presentation software as well, right? So I'll see you on that day again, people, right? So until then, have a very nice weekend, people, and be safe. Still, we are conducting the online classes, no talking about the physical classes yet, right? So I'll let you know in case if we are going to start the physical classes. But next Friday will be an online class, definitely. All right. Okay. Have a good night, people, and be safe. I'll see you on next week for the very same time. Right. Okay. Good night, everyone.